This is more like a walking meditation of thoughts. So I'm just going to come into myself, bring all of my thoughts into myself, my beliefs, my truth, and also understand they're just mine. I had this visual of the earth and living in one part of the earth and living in another. And if you take these two people, you have, let's say, you have one person in summer and one person in winter. And they're both trying to describe their truth at that time. One is hot, the clothes they wear and the things that they do, that's their truth. And then the person in the cold weather is buying warm clothes and they have fires and heat and they do different activities as well. And if these two people were to talk about their truth, about what they literally are experiencing as their truth, it would be completely different and opposite. And because of that, that could create a conflict if these two were to talk and disagree about something. And I think for me, that's why lifting myself and seeing the bigger picture and understanding where each person is brings a little bit of knowledge about what their truth, perceptions, and beliefs are. And it's really challenging to find anybody who believes 100% the way I do, you do. It's impossible. And so, in the understanding, it's really about, do we have enough to resonate with together that we agree on? Is there something we want to work towards? Is there something we want to do together? And it doesn't fit with everybody because they're in a different place, a different location, a different thought process, different belief system. And because of that, they're going to work that for them. So when they say, can't we all just get along? Not really. You're going to find people you don't like that just don't resonate with you. And you don't have to be in their field. If it's not working, if it's just not working, if you are recovering from surgery and someone else is building muscle in the gym, you have different priorities. And so, can you find a space where you both can connect in a moment, in a space? You may be able to, and you may not. And if you can't, that's okay. The person recovering from surgery, that's what they need to do in that moment. And the person building their body and really prioritizing their health differently, they both are entitled to that space. And since none of us are in the same space as another, we have to really know how we resonate, what we vibrate, what's important to us, what we can bring into our lives, and what doesn't work bringing into our lives. There are people who are great in triage at the hospital or the emergency room, where they are so great with emergencies. And there are others who are in the background and they are slow and steady and precise and they have a different way of doing things. So it's not like you want to bring these two people together into the emergency room and work on somebody. They're different. They work differently. So they may not get along. They may not blend together. And that is perfectly okay. If we can make that okay in people, I think we'll be able to allow others to live their lives without wanting to interject into their space or feel like others are invading ours. And that happens a lot. We have what we think, what we want, what we desire, what we think is right. And we want to put that imprint onto everything else, but it doesn't fit. But it's not meant to. And for some reason, why do we think it's meant to? Why do we think everybody has to have the same beliefs? We have different jobs and different passions and different priorities, and we all vibrate differently. We're all here doing different things. And so if we know that and understand it, then we can just continue to vibrate our true self. And then others that vibrate that will come together. And, that's more of an ideal way to be than fighting and conflict and anger. As long as we're there, that's a never-ending battle. That's not going to end. If you think about the last time you were angry, did you want to talk? Did you want to run away? Like whatever you do when you get angry, that tends to be a strong energetic space for us in this world where there's power and control. And then you're in that vibration. But that is it's like a tight, heavy, dense, chaotic, which can work. Like you need a tight, thick energy when you're stopping a car. Those brakes need to have that energy. So it's not like a tight, dense energy is bad. It's useful in its place. It's useful when it's used to enhance something, when it's used to destroy or manipulate or hurt something else, then that's what you're getting back. That's what you're fighting. That's the element you're living in. And I think we're all getting a choice. Where do we want to live? What space do we want to live in? How do we want to feel in our lives? And it isn't about putting our head in the sand. That's not it. It's about having your eyes open and seeing everything that's happening, everything around the whole world. And there's things that you're going to agree with and not agree with, resonate with, not resonate with, believe in, not believe in. And because we aren't able to do everything, be everything, knowing who we are and how we're vibrating is really important because then we can choose to have more of that. So it's a good idea to jot down things that you really love, things that you're really good at, things you like doing them, and then how you like doing them, the process you like doing them. It's like if you work for somebody, if you have a boss who is a micromanager. Some people may like that because they're like, oh, just tell me what to do. If you're not that personality type, you're not going to work well with a micromanager because you're going to feel controlled and you're going to probably fight back against it. And so that dynamic with you and your boss is going to be challenging on both of you. If you're a boss and you're a micromanager, then are you feeling like you can't have your finger in every pie or you need your finger in every pie or something's going to mess up if you're not in charge of it? That's a very stressful place to be. Is that working for you? How do you want to use your ability to notice details and to manage details? How do you want to do it for you? And in the workplace, it's really challenging because we've got different personalities and different processes on how we do things. Even if you look at your partnerships, one person might be a very detail oriented person and another is very efficient, fast, a little sloppy. And those two, the sloppy person is going to appreciate the detailed person's work, but they aren't able to work in that environment. And so the person who's detailed is going to notice all the things the efficient person misses. So what do you do with that? How do you come to agreements that work for both of you or work for the all? And we don't ever come together and go, wow, how do we work this way? Because we're often in power struggles. One person has the power, like the boss, over the employee. So, assumingly, they get to tell them what to do, how to be. But I'm noticing that that culture is disintegrating in our society because people are not able to do that. People are not able to come into an environment and be something they're not. And it's very challenging when really it's about, okay, we're all together. Do we all want to be together, working together? And because of finances, many people are doing things that don't work for them. They're doing things to just bring in an income, and that causes stress. Now, if they just want an income and they don't really care about the job, then they can be in that field and create abundance and money. And then they can spend their time outside of work with the things that they love and they're passionate about. Some people want their jobs to be their passion. And if that's the case, then that's a journey, that's a personal journey that you embark upon and you learn and you practice and you do the best you can with what comes into your sphere. So, as we take a moment to relax a little because we just kicked up the dust. And so there's many thoughts going on. So, I'm going to take a big breath. And I'm going to think about the earth and how there's a lot going on in the earth. And I'm thinking of the Joshua tree, and the Joshua tree does not grow everywhere. It grows in a limited space, or the saguaro cactus. It grows in a limited space. It doesn't go everywhere. It doesn't belong everywhere. It can't sustain itself in every single ecosystem. And we are like the tree and the cactus. We have our own identity, and there's a place that we fit, and there's many places we don't. Are we acknowledging that without making something bad or wrong in another? And a lot of times we don't do that. We just see something that feels dissonant to us. So, like, if I had a saguaro cactus in my home and I kept bumping into it, that would not work for me. It doesn't resonate for me to be in physical proximity that close. However, if I'm driving or I see them, then I can appreciate their value, but I'm not really interacting with them. And we don't do this with people as much. We don't realize that they get to have their own identity, whatever that is. The main point is us deciding, who am I? What's my identity? Where do I feel like I fit in the best? Where am I most comfortable? And who do I like having in my sphere the most? So if you have a business and you are an entrepreneur and you're kind and gentle and soft spoken, but you're very creative, then you may not get along with your salespeople because they have a different energy about them and different priorities. And they might be motivated differently. And so it's about utilizing everybody's capacity in their highest capacity without making anybody bad. And we do that so often. But if we could look at people like we look at things on the earth, plants and animals, you wouldn't put a tiger next to your newborn baby. But that doesn't mean either one of those does not have value. So, what I'm noticing in our world and our culture is people are finally working to identify themselves, and really who they are and how they vibrate and how they resonate and who are they? What's their personality? What is their motivation and passion? And people are learning about themselves. We don't really have a lot of schooling that gives us that teaches us to be self-aware. We've just learned items, things to do, things that have helped create jobs for people to work. And so now people are having a higher consciousness and they're trying to fit into a world that the culture is changing, as does with every generation. This happens every generation. You get two, three generations, and the ability to connect and to understand what each other is saying changes, but everything is useful. We forget everything and everybody has a use. And it's like charcoal. Charcoal, if you rub it all over your body, rub it all over your teeth, it gets dirty. So if that's the use you use it for and you don't clean, like it's not going to be beneficial for you. However, if you utilize it to clean and you rinse it off, then you use that product or you use that element appropriately for you. And so if we look at people, we look at who they are and what their identity is, and we also try to connect in and see if we can, resonate with them or vibe with them. And there are people that we do and people that we don't. But even the people we don't, we can look and see, wow, what is their use? What do they bring to the table? And then we're all working, not all of us, but if you're listening to this, you are working self-awareness and clearing out how we were raised. We were raised by an imperfect society with imperfect rules and beliefs that we may or may not be able to embrace. And my only recommendation for that is understanding ourselves the best we can as we go. We're going to change as we go, as we get older. There's going to be new things that we learn. You're never going to stop learning if you're working on being self aware. And as you are working to be self aware, then you can bring your consciousness out to the whole of society, the whole of the world, whole of people, and have an understanding without hatred, anger, and conflict. You're going to know what's going to work and be right for you. And you're going to work to speak it in the best way that you can at the time that you can. And we're going to see all the imperfections show up as well because we're all imperfect. And understanding self, and then working to bring self into the whole in the best resonance that we can. That's the best we can do.